The defense stock that's on the rise as the market reacts to tension in Syria. In today's cover story, bouncing back 5 years after the financial crisis, a status check on the economy. Plus, does retiring abroad get you more bang for your buck? And is the box office in an end of summer slump? First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, September 5th. I'm Angela Miles. In today's first look, a revved-up rally. Ford and GM posted the best gains of the year in Wednesday's session. Stocks overall rose on solid sales numbers coming from the auto sector. Gold and oil both fell, even as the Senate moves closer to a strike on Syria. BlackBerry shares are in focus today. On a Wall Street Journal report, the company is speeding up efforts to find a buyer. Intel shares fired up yesterday as a tech company unveiled new chips for data centers and cloud computing. Shares shot up 2.5%. And trouble continues to nag the NASDAQ. The exchange had a 6-minute issue yesterday. It's just about 2 weeks since trading in stocks at the NASDAQ stopped for 3 hours. Pat Horwitz of Average Joe Options joins us on this Thursday morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Angie.
As we move closer to a strike on Syria, how is the market likely to react?
You know, Angie, you look at the market, and the market came out Tuesday with a relief rally that there was no strike, and yesterday the market was higher. So it looks like the market would prefer not to have a strike here. So I think if we do get a strike, I would look to see a little bit of selling pressure.
You have been a big bear. The Fed is out saying that it sees modest growth in the economy. How do you feel now?
I still have the same feeling. We haven't really gone anywhere. The bottom line here is we've had no growth. You take a look at Walmart, McDonald's, UPS, all major consumer stocks that affect the average Joe, they have not shown any growth. The markets are up artificially, and we're right up against resistance where we closed yesterday. As long as we stay below 1680 on the S&P, I'm going to remain bearish.
We are hearing this is very much a trader's market, so what are you trading?
Well, I think I'm trading a lot of crude oil and a lot of gold and a little bit of the S&P. So, right now we have gold, which seems to be coming off a little bit, which pretty good, came to a pretty good level. And I think oil is way overpriced here. And the minute that Syria is settled, I think oil comes down about $8 to $10.
Gold is below $1,400 an ounce. Is that significant?
I think nothing becomes significant again until we get either to 1420 on the upside or 1350 on the downside. Right now, I think we're just churning in between two levels.
Thanks for your time today.
Have a great day.
The G20 summit will be closely watched by traders and investors for signs of the next step with Syria. President Obama is in Russia for the summit today. Yesterday, he was in Sweden, where he told reporters credibility of the U.S. Congress and the international community is on the line by not addressing a suspected chemical weapons attack in Syria by that country's leader, Bashar al-Assad. Protesters against a military attack were also in Sweden as the president spoke. Back in the U.S., a Senate panel approved a strike on Syria.
Syria is of vital importance to Iran and to their ambitions to become the foremost power in the region. They use Syria to arm Hezbollah and then to attack Israel. They use it to traffic weapons and terrorists to destabilize Iraq.
It's now up to the full Senate and the House to vote. So far, the number of undecideds in the House far outnumber those for or against a military strike.
The Tomahawk cruise missile will likely be the weapon of choice if the U.S. approves an attack in the Syrian civil war. The missile is made by Raytheon and was used in a strike on Libya in 2011. Despite threats of defense budget cuts, in the second quarter, Raytheon reportedly had an increased net of $32 million on sales of the Tomahawk. The guided missiles are reported to be worth $1.45 million each. The White House has ordered 196 Tomahawks for fiscal 2013. Raytheon shares are up more than $10 in the past couple of months and have nearly doubled in the past 3 years.
The short answer is no, not yet. But 5 years after the September and October 2008 economic freefall, our cover story takes a look at how far we've come since that bleak time. 5 years ago, the federal government took over Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. A week later, Lehman Brothers collapsed, and unemployment was sliding downhill 6 times faster than it's been improving and got worse for another year. So how are we doing now?
We had 8 million jobs lost. We have 6 million that have come back, but in basically 4 years.
The truth, Rosemary Hafner says, is those 2 million jobs may never come back as before. It is particularly tough on older workers.
it's very difficult to get back into the job market at that level, at that salary level, let alone at that occupational level. Very difficult, no matter who you are.
That pessimism was repeated in a survey sponsored by Country Financial.
Things have improved. I just don't think they've improved quick enough for a lot of Main Street, middle America.
Unemployment is higher than it was 5 years ago, but it's improving, not getting worse. 44% of companies Career Builder surveyed are hiring full-time, same as last year. Another 31% will hire part-timers. That's 10% higher than last year.
I think you're definitely seeing a change in the makeup of the workforce. More organizations are saying, we'll do this investment on a part-time basis. We'll see if business can support converting that to a full-time resource.
Finally, economists point out there wouldn't be an uptick in housing if people were unsure about their future. Same for auto sales.
We're finally starting to see seasonally adjusted sales rates go back to where they were in what auto analysts call the good old days, back before the recession.
GM, Ford, and Chrysler all reported double-digit growth in August as compared with a year ago. Ford had its best month in 7 years. Honda, Toyota, and Nissan posted even bigger gains year over year. There is debate as to whether consumer confidence or older cars kept limping along until now is behind auto sales rolling along. Regardless, Ford says it will increase production in the fourth quarter to meet rising demand.
Momentum is picking up again in mortgage applications for home buyers and refis. Mortgage applications jumped 1.3% last week. The uptick is attributed to a dip in loan interest rates to 4.73% on a 30-year fixed, down from 4.8%. Refi applications also rose more than 2% last week. Borrowing rates hinge on Treasury yields, which have been trending higher on speculation the Fed will begin tapering its monthly purchase of $85 billion worth of mortgage-backed bonds.
A shortage of lots could cause a spike in home prices. USA Today reports the average price of a finished lot in the U.S. is up 40% from the same time last year. San Francisco, Oakland, Atlanta, and Las Vegas are seeing the largest price hikes. Lot prices are said to reflect 22% of the price on a new house. Jed Kolko of Trulia tells us there is still room to grow for new home construction.
Construction in the U.S. is still about 40% below normal levels. Now, some of that may be due to the difficulty finding lots and the challenge in finding qualified labor to work on construction projects. But I think the bigger factor is there's still not that much demand for new construction.
There's also a shortfall of developers. Following the housing crisis, many residential developers left the industry and have yet to return.
Apple will hold nearly simultaneous media events in the U.S. and China for the first time. Apple is expected to unveil its latest iPhone September 10th. Now comes word the company has invited Chinese media to the event in Beijing on September 11th, just hours after the U.S. gathering. There's speculation that Apple will also reveal a deal with a Chinese telecommunications company.
Microsoft has a launch date for its next generation Xbox. Xbox One will be available in stores November 22nd. It'll carry a price tag of $499.99. The tech company is already warning of possible shortages. The game console has sold out in pre-orders at some retailers. Xbox One has received more pre-orders than previous game sets.
It's official. Samsung has taken the wraps off a smartwatch. It's a big step forward into the latest realm of wearable tech devices. Galaxy Gear users will be able to place and accept calls on the device. It also has a microphone, camera, and video capabilities. Consumers will be able to access email as well. Samsung is specifically marketing the watch along with its new Note 3 phone. Both will be available in October.
Are interns learning on the job, or are they just unpaid employees? It's a question being raised in a number of intern lawsuits and by grassroots groups that aim to end the practice. One such group, the Fair Pay Campaign, is taking the fight to college campuses this fall, hoping to end the role that schools play in helping students get unpaid internships in return for credit. Rona Bori, CEO of Instant Technology in Chicago, says given the controversy, unpaid internships will soon be a thing of the past.
Paying for internships will probably be the future of how organizations will go. And I think, you know what, that gives people an opportunity really to maybe get more involved in your organization and ask for things, and different expectations can be set for job responsibilities if you're paying for someone's work.
Many companies still contend that the internships help students make connections, get experience, and find jobs.
At least 2 hedge funds have not given up on JCPenney. Glenview Capital Management and Heyman Capital Management both revealed in regulatory filings yesterday investments in the ailing department store. Glenview is the larger stakeholder with 20 million shares. Heyman bought 11 million. JCPenney stock closed up 6% yesterday.
Frugal shoppers helped give a boost to Dollar General in the latest quarter. The discount store reported higher profits as the economic recovery still has consumers cutting costs. The stock bounced 6% yesterday. It's a bright spot in the retail sector right now as profits sag at major retailers such as Walmart and Target. Dollar Tree stock rose 3% yesterday on the Dollar General report.
2 Dow component companies are making price adjustments to attract consumers. McDonald's reportedly is considering changes to its dollar menu. The chain is said to be testing value deals with a dollar menu and more theme. It's to find out if customers are comfortable with the addition of items that cost more than $1. And Procter & Gamble is selling Tide liquid laundry detergent at a lower price. According to a report, P&G is facing competition from Arm & Hammer and Extra.
Super Bowl ad buzz is starting super early this year. Football season kicks off today, but already the pressure is on for advertisers planning a spot in the big game. General Motors, Anheuser-Busch, InBev, Dannon Yogurt, and software company Intuit have already agreed to an average of $4 million for 30 seconds of fame.
On to the economic calendar for today. It's Challenger job cuts, ADP employment change, initial unemployment claims and continuing claims, along with factory orders, ISM services, natural gas inventories, and crude inventories. On the earnings calendar, Smith & Wesson, Quicksilver, and Joseph Bank. Still to come, the tech stock that is moving on headlines from China. Plus, is a Butler setting up for another win at the box office this weekend? And retire in style. Why enjoying your golden years may be more affordable overseas than you think. Bill Mahler has that next.
Boomers, instead of Arizona or Florida, consider these places for retirement. Maybe the Philippines, or how about Abruzzo, Italy? Yeah, living out your retirement years in another country. It's happening more and more. And in this week in San Antonio, Texas, there's actually a Retire Overseas conference. Kathleen Petticord, she's an author and expert in this area, and she's also a keynote speaker. And we've got her via Skype. Now, you live in Panama City.
I do. We've been living there for 5 years. We moved there from Paris.
Give me your most convincing sales pitch. Why would I want to uproot myself, leave my friends, leave the kids behind, and go to some exotic foreign country?
Crazy idea, I know, on the face of it. But the main reason is cost of living, frankly. Cost of living and cost of health care, which can both be dramatically less in a lot of other places.
Well, what are some of the top locations that you've evaluated?
Cuenca, Ecuador would be the top choice for a retiree on a budget. Another more exotic, more faraway choice would be Georgetown, Malaysia. One of my favorite places is Medellin, Colombia, which sounds scary, but it's not. And then the Coronado Beach region outside Panama City, Panama.
Now, you really have to know what you're doing. I've actually heard some buyer beware horror stories in terms of how people can really get into trouble. They get property that they can't unload, or there's a tax complication.
Definitely. There are risks, there are pitfalls, and as you say, you need to be prepared.
Now, to be sure that's a good fit for you and your finances, who do you talk to? Do you have to talk to like an international tax expert, your own accountant, maybe a lawyer?
You need to talk to a tax expert. And in fact, you need two. You need one as an American in the United States, and then one in the country where you decide to move.
How big is this getting? You've been in this business for a long time. I have to believe when you started, it was kind of a strange, exotic story you were selling.
Exactly. When I started, I've been covering this beat almost 30 years. When I started, it was fringy. It was crazy. Today, it's almost mainstream.
I don't think there's anybody else I've heard of who's in this line of work that you are. What is your website so we can get more information?
It's liveandinvestoverseas.com.
Well, Kathleen Petticord, thank you very much, and hola to you.
Thank you.
A home financing program that's popular with senior citizens is getting closer attention from regulators. Starting October 1st, HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, will tighten up restrictions on reverse mortgages. It's a special home loan allowing homeowners to convert equity in their homes into cash something HUD will stress is helping seniors avoid unwarranted fees.
Good to know, Chuck. Coming up next, The Butler keeps climbing at the box office, but is it with a little help from a friend? And bad news is giving one tech stock major buzz. That's later on in Chart Talk.
The Butler dishes out another win at the box office. Eric Childress, our movie guy, is here. And Eric, how much of this is the Oprah effect? I noticed she was tweeting and telling people to go.
I don't think Oprah needs to be tweeting. I think the will of the 99% are really getting the word out there just fine.
It's
on this
just
movie.
happening.
Yeah, word of mouth. I mean, it's making people cry. People are telling their friends. You know, my mom's even seen the movie, so, you know.
She like it?
She did like it, yes.
Yeah, my parents liked it too. I loved it. I thought it was terrific. Yeah, what do you think is the future for this? Because there's not a lot coming out.
No, I mean,
I
don't know if it's going to keep the #1 spot this weekend, but it's going to be in the top 5 at least for a couple of weeks. It's going to be in the top 10 at least until early October. So I mean, this film is going to shoot past 100 million, and that's going to immediately going to make it worth speculation that it could be in the Oscar race. As well.
You had mentioned that this could be a situation like we saw with The Help, and the word of mouth just keeps growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, at the box office last weekend, it did come in #1 thanks to, of course, to that 4-day weekend, and that was a big one at $20 million. One Direction coming in at #2. Were the Millers, Planes, and Instructions Not Included?
Yeah, this Instructions Not Included. Did you hear of this movie
Not
before?
really.
Yeah, no one really did. I mean, we got some press releases about it. We heard it was coming out. It was not screened for critics. We didn't get screeners. There were only 4 reviews even up on Rotten Tomatoes when this film came out this weekend. And yet, it seemed like the Latino community came out to support this Eugenio Derbez, who was a television star. And, I mean, you're going to see Hollywood sort of take notice of this because no one saw this coming. And clearly there's obviously a market, just as The Butler for African-American cinema, and there's sort of breakthrough, obviously there's a market for Latino cinema too. So you're going to see some people, try to capitalize on that now.
The audiences are speaking loud and clear.
Absolutely.
Well, here's what's coming out this weekend. So you tell me what's going to happen here. We have Riddick, The Ultimate Life, and then Salinger at 99%. Interesting documentaries, small screens, just a few here and there throughout the U.S., but I wanted to put them on the list.
Yeah, no, it's worth mentioning. I mean, who knows? It might be the next Instructions Not Included. You never know. But Riddick is obviously the film, the big film this weekend. This falls into the category of sequels we didn't need at all. And the screening is late for critics, so not a lot of positive buzz on this. Vin Diesel actually sort of mortgaged his house to sort of help get this movie made. Wow. The Chronicles of Riddick was kind of a bomb for Universal, so this one's a lot more modestly scaled at $38 million. So it might take #1 this weekend, but I don't know if anyone really has interest in this character anymore.
I love these filmmakers though that are going to all odds just to go ahead and get their films.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's nice to see when you see a passion project like The Butler and you see people throw their money at it to get it made. that's sort of inspiring. But see Vin Diesel mortgaging his house on this trilogy that. It's got a kind of a cult base at best. I don't really understand it, but we'll see this weekend.
Eric, I also noticed the overall numbers have dropped off as well. Just the overall totals of the box office.
Yeah, well, it comes to pass. Well, we're at the end of the summer. We're now in sort of the school period now. So September, you're going to see some very light box office numbers, and then next week we'll be talking about some movies that are getting a lot of buzz coming out of the Telluride and Toronto film festivals, and you're going to see some of those movies really sort of pack a wallop.
We will look forward to that. Thanks again, Eric.
Thank you.
Just ahead, why Micron Technology is suddenly a hot stock. Chart Talk is next. Is turning into good news for one tech company. Joining us now is Matt Kavanaugh, CMZ Trading. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Micron shares rallied because of a fire at one of its competitors. What do you think about this stock story?
Well, it's tough to make any of your investing decisions based off of a news story like this or coming out of another country. But, I think that's really just icing on the cake. This stock is up over 100% in the last year. It was below $10 in May. A lot of good things are happening for them. They acquired one of their competitors who has a nice contract with Apple. There's good things happening in the chip industry as a whole. A lot of people have gotten short this sector after the run-up. So I think it's a whole mix of things going on here.
What's happening with the shorts, Matt?
Well, I think the people who sold the stock short, and there's been a big increase in the last month or so. They might have seen this news story coming out of China and thought, hey, maybe I've got to cover a little bit. So, a little bit of a rally based off short covering, a little bit off of the news, but overall there are good things happening at this company. They come off a really good quarter, and I think if you like the stock, you buy it based off the fundamentals, not what's going on somewhere else.
What would be your price target?
It's tough to tell. I think this stock could trade $20, maybe above. The people at Jefferies agree with me. There's been a couple upgrades of this stock lately, but tough to tell. This was a high flyer back in the internet days, above $80 a share, below $10 this year. So really you don't know, but good things going on.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
We are out of time for today. Coming up tomorrow in Traders Unplugged, the guys offer chip tips on the tech companies they think are ready to rally. Plus, why more grandparents are shouldering the cost of college. We'll be back tomorrow. From all of us at First Business, have a great day.